line is Lamar Jackson is Michael Vick 2.0 rather. That's what he is. And he threw 5 touchdowns last night and all of this other stuff, and everybody wants to rave about it. And all I can think about, John, what I simply cannot get out of my head is this. So what? It was against the Jets. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? The Jets stink. I'm not talking about anybody but the football team. I'm not talking about the PR staff, media relations, the business department. There's a lot of great people over there at the New York Jets. It's a damn shame they're subjected to trying to sell this product. Adam Gase should have never been a head coach. He shouldn't be the head coach now. And the New York Jets are not good. And the fact that they were going up against Lamar Jackson and didn't even have the luxury of having Jamal Adams available to them, is it really a surprise what happened? My poor boy Jeff Brown, one of my best friends in the world, lives in California, a transplanted New Yorker living in L.A., former Navy dude, actually sits at home when Jets game comes on, John. He actually puts on his Jets jersey. Subjecting my godchildren to this atrocity. New York Jets haven't won a Super Bowl since 1969. I take that back, John. They haven't been to a Super Bowl since 1969 either. I mean, they're pretty damn pathetic. So why should I be excited about what I saw from Lamar Jackson when it's against the New York Jets? Why? For what? The Cincinnati Bengals are an atrocity. An atrocity of the highest football order you can find. Nothing about them looks good. Nothing. They are god-awful. They have one victory this season. It's against the New York Jets. Jets just, they're not good. So for those of you out there salivating for me to get all excited, all up in arms about Lamar Jackson and what he did, let me tell you something right now. Brother ran for 86 yards yesterday. He's got over 1,100 yards rushing the football now because he had 1,017 coming into the game. He threw a couple of dime passes last night. I get all of that. He's a leader. He's a winner. He's a star athlete. He can fly. I mean, it's scary watching these guys trying to get at him because they're damn near scared trying to get at him. But we just have to be honest and clear. The wheels on this brother is something special, and it's good. What's going to happen if somebody can find a way to contain him in the pocket? I think that's a legitimate question. I think that makes for exciting football. The other angle to all of this is I told you, because he's so spectacular, and because Patrick Mahomes is so spectacular, you do have a lot of us salivating at the notion of one of them being in the Super Bowl, whether it be against Drew Brees or against the San Francisco 49ers as a team. I'm not going to say Jimmy Garoppolo because he's not at the head of the curve, despite the 349 yards he threw against New Orleans last week. We know that when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, it's their defense, it's their running game, it's even Deebo Samuels and George Kittle and a play calling of Kyle Shanahan before you even think about Jimmy Garoppolo. But I'm not taking anything away from him. The most interesting and compelling storyline for Jimmy Garoppolo, if he were to make it to the Super Bowl, is him against Tom Brady. The person that Bill Belichick wanted him to succeed, or wanted to succeed Tom Brady, but Robert Kraft stepped in and said no. That's the only thing you've got. Outside of that, there's no reason on earth that you should want to see Tom Brady in this particular upcoming Super Bowl, the way New England's offense has looked, when you can have the opportunity to watch Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens or Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. As good as Tennessee is, and as good as much as I think they're going to win the AFC South, and as much as I think they'd be a formidable foe in the postseason, no, we do not want to see Ryan Tannehill in the Super Bowl. No. As much as a diehard Steelers fan as I am. No, we do not want to see Duck Hodges in the Super Bowl yet. No. I would love to see Deshaun Watson if he had a team around him. But I don't trust the Houston Texans. It would be fantastic and very interesting if John Gruden and Mike Mayock got the Raiders to the Super Bowl. They won't even make the playoffs. It's about Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. And anything that interrupts that ending up in a Super Bowl representing the AFC is a loss for all of us because the ratings are going to drop. I'm telling you that right now. But getting back to Lamar Jackson, I'm going to say it before I said it. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I'm not overly excited about any performance against the New York Jets. Because I just think the Jets are not very good. That is just how I feel. That is just where I'm at with it. There's no way around it for me, and that is that. New York Giants, believe it or not, are even worse. They're even worse. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you can't make this up. When you think about the New York Giants right now, I'm at a loss for words. So, defensive player Janoris Jenkins is upset because a fan is tweeting at him, insulting his play. And Janoris Jenkins claps back at him and calls the guy a, quote, retard, end quote. There is no doubt that that's an inappropriate word to use, particularly in this day and age, especially in light of the fact that you do have some folks suffering from some mental disabilities, and it comes across as highly insensitive. And so Janoris Jenkins ultimately acknowledged his inappropriate comment to the fan on Twitter, apologized. Nevertheless, New York Giants head coach Pat Shurmur says Jenkins' refusal to admit wrongdoing led to his dismissal. Will you stop? Could you stop it, please? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't cover the Giants. I'm not there every day. I'm not a beat writer anymore like I used to be. Props to all the beat writers out there because that's hard work, and they're not nearly as appreciated as much as they should be. And we get all of that. I'm only saying all of that to say that I don't know what happened. I don't cover the Giants. I have not spoken to Janoris Jenkins, who's been on First Take on several occasions. I have not spoken to him. I don't know Pat Shurmur. I can just tell you what I think in this particular situation. Not what I've heard, because I've heard nothing. I think the Giants are lying. Or shall I say Pat Shurmur is lying. That doesn't mean he's a liar. I'm not trying to character assassinate him. The only thing that I want to assassinate about Pat Shurmur is his employment as head coach of the New York Giants. That's it. That should be assassinated. Absolutely. Blown to blitters. Blown to smithereens, rather. He should be gone as the head coach. He's worse than Gase. I see no leadership. Clearly, the season is over. Yet again, I don't give a damn about how good he must have been or whatever. 3-13 last season, now 2-11. He should have never had the job to begin with. And damn it, Gettleman should go with him for picking him as the head coach of the franchise. And in the New York Giants, if you're Mr. Murray, you're Mr. Tisch, there's a person you should have had as your general manager to begin with. While I'm being honest, it's no benefit to us. It would be a tremendous loss to us because he does such a phenomenal job on TV for us. But Louis Riddick, who was in line and was being considered for the GM post for the New York Giants, should have been Mara's choice, should have been Tisch's choice, should have been the Giants' choice. Period. There was no reason whatsoever for Pat Shurmur, Mr. 10-23, in his previous head coaching stint, to be head coaching a New York Giants franchise. Period. Now, we applaud Gettleman's drafting of Saquon Barkley. We applaud Pat Shermer's benching of Eli Manning for Daniel Jones. Although he's a turnover waiting to happen, he's shown a lot of promise and a lot of upside. I like Daniel Jones. And I never thought I'd say that, but I do. But this Gettleman-Sherman experiment, let it go. Gettleman's been around the National Football League for a long time. I'm not sitting there and saying that Gettleman should be fired. I'm just saying if he was fired, I wouldn't miss him. Pat Shermer should be fired. He's not the right man for the job. I look at him and I see coordinator written all over him. I don't see a galvanizer or a leader of men. I just don't. There is no way, and again, I wasn't there, I don't know, but there is no way that you can convince me that Janoris Jenkins would have a hard time acknowledging wrongdoing about using the word retard. I don't believe it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him sitting there saying, I messed up. I should not have used that word. The fan got the best of me. I shouldn't have used that word. Don't tell me that Janoris Jenkins would have a problem saying that. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't know because I don't really know him. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think what really, really happened is that Janoris Jenkins did apologize, did acknowledge, yes, it was a poor choice of words. Because after that, there shouldn't have been a conversation. But I think what happens is that Pat Shermer was looking into the eyes of a young man that has no faith in Pat Shermer. Janoris Jenkins was probably saying, look, man, all right, I shouldn't have used that word. But you, of all people, don't need to be lecturing me. Who the hell are you? Because Lord knows what Pat Shermer is doing to this team, this franchise. And speaking of that, let me tell you something, New York Giants. You're no longer a gold standard. Somebody needs to talk. I mean, John, when the hell are you going to do it? Michael, Kev, call everybody out. The Michael K. Show. Me. Man, Chris Canty and the boys. Alan Hahn, everybody. In New York City. Let me ask you a question. When the hell is somebody going to sit up there and remind? I'm not saying you did it, but just in case you did it, follow my lead today. When the hell are we going to sit up there and tell the Giants, you ain't the gold standard no more. You ain't no damn gold standard. Hell, you ain't even bronze. Because that's close to the color of gold. You ain't even in the same vicinity. The New York Giants are on the verge of missing the playoffs for the 7th time in their last 8 years. They've already missed the 6th in their last 7. Since they last made the playoffs, their record is 10-35. And counting. What are we talking about here? The New York Giants are not very good. They're wasting away the extraordinary talents of Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones, without question, needs a better leader at the helm. Why are we debating this? Why are we debating this? 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. This 888-729-3776. Listen, John, I want to take a moment. I want to address something just for clarification purposes. I'm not trying to give new life to a non-story as far as I'm concerned. But I just want to make sure that I speak on an issue. This is my radio show, at least for the time being. I want to make sure that I address something that took place yesterday. Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson got a podcast. Asked me to come on. I was happy to do it. They've been a guest of mine on numerous occasions. Want to return the favor. With the permission of the bosses, that's exactly what I did. We spoke about nothing that I haven't spoken about on First Take or this radio show. There were no positions articulated that I have not articulated on this radio show and on First Take, my daily weekday show that comes on every weekday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Jonathan, look at me when I'm talking to you, because I want you nodding, because I want everybody to know I'm looking at my producer and nodding his head. I'm produced. Yes, I am. So during that podcast, I talked about Colin Kaepernick, because they asked me a question about it. They asked me a question about how I was being attacked and how people were labeling me and all of this other stuff. And I took the liberty of pointing out why I was so angry and why I was so disgusted. And I talked about Jay-Z doing what he did behind the scenes to facilitate this workout. I also talked about how I played a role, along with various others. Now, you have some people out there being ignorant and treating it like I was having some negotiation with the NFL or somebody behind the scenes or anything. No, ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. The same things that I articulated on television, the same things that I articulated on radio, I articulated to the faces of some people associated with the NFL. NFL League Office, NFL Players Association, team officials, etc. I said the same thing to them. Guess why? Because I can. Now, what do I mean when I say I can? Because you have some people, and unlike them, I should say unlike them, because they didn't mention my names, and I'm not going to mention theirs. You have some people that sit up there and equated it to journalism or journalism ethics. So let me educate y'all about journalism, since I have been in the journalism profession for a quarter century. Jonathan, I think that would require that. I think I got the credentials to speak on that. JC, I think I got the credentials to speak. Been in here for 25 years. Okay. New York Daily News, Philadelphia Inquirer, CNN, Fox, ESPN. I think that gives me a resume. I think I'm qualified. Let me explain something to y'all. I was a high school writer, a college writer, a pro writer, an NBA columnist. And in March of 2003, I became the 21st African American in the history of this profession to be named a general sports columnist. Do you know the difference between a columnist and a reporter? A columnist has the license to editorialize and give our opinions. Now, for those of you out there who are confused, let me tell you that I understand why. Because in this day and age, everybody gives an opinion. Back in the day, you couldn't do that. There wasn't ESPN.com, and there wasn't Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all of that. Everybody didn't have a platform to have an opinion. You actually had to go through layers to elevate yourself to getting the right to express an opinion. I did that. I did that. And so when you elevate yourself to being a general sports columnist, here's the difference. Other people get to report. You not only get to report, but then you turn around and get that information, and you are given the license to editorialize, to express your opinion to whomever you please. So for those that will look at me and would say, excuse me, what is he doing taking a position on Colin Kaepernick? You mean like I did on First Take? You mean like I do on this radio show? Is Pat Shurmur deserving to be fired, Jonathan, an opinion or not? So if I went and I told Pat Shurmur or I told John Mara or Steve Tisch to their face, you need to fire Pat Shurmur, have I violated journalistic ethics if I went on my damn radio show or the television show and said so? Is that a violation? I said the same damn thing on the air. I just told them to their face. Do you see where I'm going with this? I'm a commentator and a pundit with a background in journalism. And my willingness to be behind the scenes, to speak to people in NFL circles about how they should give Colin Kaepernick a tryout, is not a violation of journalism ethics. If I went on the air and I did it on the air, if I said it, what my position was publicly in a public platform that I am paid to do it in, what's the difference between me doing that and then doing it in private? Now, if I did it in private without doing it on the air, then it's disingenuous. And it appears as if I have a different agenda But if my position is consistent privately with what I have disseminated publicly, what's the problem? There is no problem. And people who make it a problem have their own agendas. What those agendas are, I don't know. And I'm not going to speculate. But what I will say is this. Colleagues, some contemporaries, some executives, some whomever. My only position is simple. Even if I think you're wrong, don't act like you don't know my ethics. Even if I think you're wrong, it doesn't mean I don't want you to express yourself, or I think that you shouldn't express yourself just because it's me. But if you got something to say, and I'm a colleague, and I'm a friend or somebody you've known for over 20 years, is it too much to ask that I could get a phone call first before you got something to say? That's just a taste preference. And oh, by the way, shockingly, I'm not just talking about people outside of ESPN. I'm talking about people inside of ESPN too. If you know me and you got something to say, could you call me? Did I say anything beyond the pale? I'm looking at my producer, Jonathan. Did I say anything beyond the pale? How about you, JC? Did I say anything beyond the pale? Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure. We got everybody running around whispering and snickering and all of this other stuff. You better than that. I know when the grass gets mowed, the snakes come out. But that don't mean we always have to tolerate it. I'm going to make an awful lot of phone calls over this weekend to people who have smiled in my face and have talked behind my back. But I'm here for a reason. Because I'm ethical. Colin Kaepernick deserves an opportunity to be back in the league. He protested. He never violated any laws, didn't violate any bylaws. He has been blackballed, period. It is shameful what has happened to him. Having said all of that, I can still maintain the opinion that even though he's done that, even though that's what has happened to him, doesn't mean he handled everything the right way. I don't believe you get a job in white America by telling white America to their face that they're racist and they're prejudiced and they're this and they're that. But by the way, I got my hand out asking you for an opportunity. I don't believe that if you have a black boss, you can look him in the face and call him the N-word and then ask him for a job. I don't believe if you have a Jewish boss, you can use a word that's insulting to the Jewish community and then have your hand out calling them for a job. And that's applicable to anybody. Period. It's logic to me. You can disagree all you want to. But what you will never say about me is that I would be disrespectful to contemporaries, to colleagues, to bosses. You certainly can't say I would ever do so publicly. And last but not least, John, and people like you can vouch for this because you've worked with me for years. I am many things, but I ain't two-faced it. I got one face. What you see is what the hell you get. And since we're in the Christmas spirit, let me tell you what I would love for Christmas. For other people who claim to be the same way, actually be the same way. At least we'd all know where we stood. That's just my thought. And that's the last thing I'm going to say about this. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, head to the Home Depot, the #1 retailer of power tools and accessories.